Hello and welcome to another Penguin Palace video. I'm Sharon and I'm glad you're here. Today I will be creating with one of the newest 360 stencils from our spring release. It's called the Sakura Fubuki. By definition it means cherry blossom snowstorm. There are two stencils in this set. One is 6 inches in diameter and the other is 4 inches. Have you ever been to Japan to view the cherry blossom? I was very fortunate that I got to visit Japan a couple of times. Personally, I think those cherry blossoms are absolutely gorgeous. I wanted to design a stencil that could capture the essence of this iconic feature of the Japanese springtime landscape. This is the look that I'm going for today, and I'm going to show you that it's really easy to do. Today I'm using our brand new stenciling tool, the Stencils 360 Friends Edition, to do the demo. This is a simplified and compact version of our original Stencil 360. This is the first video that I put together which features the mini version. Note that this is not a replacement to our original Stencil 360 as they both have their own unique features. I will have another video comparing the two different sizes, so please stay tuned for that. Here I put some removable adhesive on the back of my cardstock. This is a 5 inches by 5 inches panel. To center my cardstock about the base, you will refer to these dotted lines. So just simply follow these dotted lines and you will have no problem positioning the base and securing it with removable tape. First, I'm going to use barrel A, which is the 4-inch stencil. Therefore, I will pop in the 4-inch guide ring here. If you like, you can put a small piece of tape like I did here. This way, it makes it easier to take the guide ring in and out. Now, usually for those who have been following us since the launch of the tool, I almost always tape down my guide ring and then rotate only the stencil. But with this Friends Edition, since the tool itself is only 8 inches by 8 inches, the guide ring is relatively small. You may find it easier if you tape your stencil to the guide ring and rotating them as one. Make sure the alignment marker on the stencil is pointing at 12 o'clock. In other words, align it with the arrow on the guide ring before you start. I'm choosing the 30-degree turning interval, meaning I will be using the circles scale. I'll be applying two colors, alternating between a light and a darker shade of pink. But instead of wiping my stencil at every 30-degree turn, I will start with my first ink color, Spun Sugar, ink at all the solid stops, clean my stencil once, and then switch to my next color for all the outline stops. Here I'm turning both of my guide ring and the stencil. Arrow is now pointing to the next solid circle on the scale. You can see that I'm skipping the outline circle because I'm saving the outline stops for my second color. This brush that I'm using is actually our new 0.6-inch blending brush. It's perfect for blending small areas and small elements. They work really well with 4-inch and 6-inch stencils, especially when you're blending multiple colors on a single stencil. They give you a lot of control over your blending, and these just make stenciling really easy and efficient. Now you can see me finishing my last solid stop, and this is what it looks like after my first round of inking. And at this point, I thought to myself, I wanted a bit more dimension on these, so I went back and I added a little bit more shading with a darker pink color at the exact same stops. And this tool makes it so easy to do. If you miss something or if you think you need to add more colors, you can simply go back and correct it. I then went ahead and ink blend on all the outline circle stops using the same color that I used for the highlights earlier. I believe the reason why floral designs work so well on our 360 tool is that you can have as many layers or overlaps as you want. And layerings can really give you that blooming picture, just like what we're going to do here. Or you can even imagine having all those different shades of pink petals blowing in the breeze, or layers of pink petals scattered all over the field. That's exactly the kind of abstract image that I'm going for. Now let's just zoom in so we can see a little better. It's already looking gorgeous. Now if you like, you can just leave the background as is, or you can add more layerings with the other stencil. This is a 6-inch stencil, and when you're working with 6-inch stencil with our Friends edition, you do not need a guide ring. When we designed this tool, we want it to be as compact as possible. The fact that we took out the 6-inch guide ring makes it possible for us to really minimize the size of this tool. However, it is recommended that you do put some tape around the cutout region like I'm doing now, so that as you rotate and ink blend, the stencil doesn't slip underneath the base. You'll also notice that there's a little wiggle room between your stencil and the base, and this is absolutely normal. As long as you point the alignment marker at the correct symbols that you're referencing to throughout the process, you will get great results. Now I'm inking 2 more different shades of pink with my 6-inch stencil. As you can see here, I'm using our new 1-inch brushes. These are great for inking medium size to large areas. You can comfortably grip onto these 1-inch tall handles. Now I'm using the 30-degree turning intervals again, just like I did with the 4-inch stencil. You can see that I'm inking the bigger flower with tattered rose, and the smaller one with worn lipstick. And I'm going to do that for all my solid circle stops. As for the outline circles, I'm going to switch them up and do it vice versa. You know, I did actually make a mistake and mixed up some of my colors, but the best thing is that it really doesn't matter because all the colors that I chose blend so well together. So if you make a mistake, please do not worry about it. Just carry on. Everything's going to work out just fine. Now look at that overlays. I love the fullness of this. That layering really gives you the dimension. Now I want to show you that you don't really have to center your cardstock all the time. Here I shifted my cardstock over to the top right corner. I'm going to use only part of my stencil for inking. And this is another great thing about circular stencils and this tool. They give you great versatility. Even without masking, you can easily choose a part of the stencil to ink blend. And with the help of the tool, you can rotate your stencil systematically to create the pattern that you want. This is the fun part of the tool. Everyone can make something different. I'm not just talking about ink colors or different mediums. I'm talking about the different designs or patterns that you can get with the same stencil. Here what I did was I placed my alignment marker pointing at 6 o'clock to start and referencing to the heart symbols, the 22.5-degree turning intervals. I first used spun sugar on the solid hearts, and then I switched to picked raspberry for the outline stops. I only had to make about 3 stops to do this arch, which is really easy. Then I went back to my solid stops to add a little bit more dimensions to my petals. As you can see, by simply shifting the cardstock to the corner, it allows me to offset the radial pattern and leave more white space for my card. Now for my last example, I'm going to ink at 45 degrees turning intervals, meaning this time I'll refer to the triangles for my stops. And rather than just using pink, I'll be adding a touch of purple tone in there as well. Similar to my previous 2 examples, I first inked up all the solid stops with pink and then went back and inked up all the outline stops with my purple. And here's the results. It looks very pretty and very elegant. As compared to my first example, where I used both stencils at a much smaller turning interval, this one has just a small portion of overlays, and it looks simple and refreshing. Using different turning intervals or different elements of the stencil and changing the placement of the panel gives you totally different designs. Look at the amount of layering you can do with just 2 simple stencils. There are just so many possibilities. To finish my first panel, I silver heat embossed a bold sentiment and adhered it offset to my panel. I added a couple of strips of vellum and matching color cardstock to give it a little bit more interest. I also added a 1/4-inch border with some patterned paper to finish it off. This card measures 6 by 6. For my next card, I kept it relatively simple. I added a vintage border and a simple sentiment, both in matching purple tone. I also scattered some gems for the sparkle. And for my last card, I added bold sentiment in VersaFine Onyx Black and heat embossing that with clear embossing powder. I then added a die-cut butterfly and some heart-shaped clear drops to give it an elegant look. I thought the jade green color goes so well with the pink floral. I hope you enjoyed today's inspirations. Comment below and let me know which one is your favorite. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.